The best G-Shock ever created, and it's well worn, but not by me. This is well worn by my son Philip because it just did not fit me. I bought this 3 years ago, next month, and I was hoping to get a durable watch because I had heard about the legendary durability of G-Shocks, but I had never worn one before because they didn't fit, all right? And Amazon had a generous return policy, and my previous Casio, which I don't know if it's in here, but the band broke. And I was sick and tired of just going through all these El Cheapo Casios. They didn't last long enough. I was like, rather than buy a whole bunch of $20 Casios, why not just get one good G-Shock watch that will last a long time? And unfortunately, this one didn't fit, all right? Notice how I get it on the last notch, but the keeper doesn't go on, and it moves around, and it doesn't fit a big wrist that well. Okay. And so at the time, my middle two sons, Philip and Brian, had these Skemmy watches, these Chinese watches I got off of Amazon. And they had kept them for a long time, and they were proving themselves to be very responsible, and I was impressed. However, we had been on a canoeing trip on the Brazos River where water got into their watches, and I was like, gentlemen, you need G-Shocks. And so Philip got this G-Shock since it didn't fit me, and it was like his first real watch was the best watch. Now, some of you may be surprised at me saying that this is the best watch because, I got the Mudman GW5610. Well, this one hasn't had sunlight in a while, but I was going on about how this is amazing. It's my favorite. Well, the thing is that I think that this is amazing, the Mudman GW9400, because of its durability. Now, its durability, all G-Shocks are very durable, okay? But the durability of the GW9500 surpasses that of the GWM5610, okay? But there's a lot to say about this square watch because the first G-Shock was the square, all right? It was this, it's called the square because of its overall face that is not circular. They call it the square, but those of you who are good at geometry, you maths nerds will notice that it's actually octagonal. But anyways, it's called the square. The original G-Shock was the square, designed by Kiko eBay. 40 years ago now? It's been around for a long time. And this is the ultimate iteration of the square. It is considered to be the best because of how elegantly it's designed, how well it's designed. The execution of its basic features is amazing, and we'll go over that because this particular model that I have is the GWM5610U, where U stands for update. So there's some items in this module that are updated that make this just chef's kiss beautiful, just a terrific watch. And if it had fit me well at the time, I would not have gone on a journey to get all these other G-Shocks and test them out because this one is exactly what I want to watch because of how thin it is. I'm a big guy, and so if you're big, you know that wearing watches can be annoying, when it comes to walking through door jams, right? If you have a big watch, I'll just use the King as an example, and you have it on your wrist and you're just swinging your arms back and forth, this is going to thump on everything you walk by, okay? And so, the short kings don't understand, but us large gentlemen actually do appreciate diminutive watches because of door jams. It sounds ridiculous, but you wouldn't know until you walk through door jams and you're thumping your watch on everything. And I used to be a mover in my younger days, so I walked through a lot of door jams, especially while carrying stuff, and you don't want to be thumping door jams. Anyways, the square watches like the Casioks, and I have the Casioke right here, they're diminutive, meaning they're thin. They don't stand proud off the wrist like some other meatballs, okay? And so now I'm not a mover. I am in West Texas where there are very few door jams, actually. There's very few people. You know, we're out like in the desert, in the boondocks, as you'd say, but the boondocks carry the connotation of vegetation, and there is no vegetation. The West Texas desert, I work in the oil field, so I do all this maintenance on diesel equipment, and I would like to have a nice thin watch when I'm reaching in somewhere to, you know, work on the diesel equipment that I operate, and the square would be good for that, except that if you are largely proportioned, there are two features of the square that are not good. One of them has to do with the watch crotch, the narrow watch crotch, and the angle that the watch points down is more conducive to a smaller wrist, not as much as a bigger wrist, because when a big wrister wears a watch like this, the band splays out awkwardly and it walks around your wrist. It doesn't stay put because of the tension here will cause the watch to push one way or the other, okay? And so, like I showed you that it barely fits if you just catch the last notch. These are kind of fool's notches on the end, because if you catch the last notch, like what happens is that the keeper doesn't really do its job to secure the watch. It's like, you know, moving all around, really annoying, okay? And so it's not just the length of the band, it's not just the notches, it's also the tension that the watch is under with the watch crotch, okay? Now, some watches that have a bigger watch crotch would be the GD010, and of course the King, but also the Rangeman GW9400. And I called this the ultimate watch. Like Casio, when they made the G-Shock GW9400, made a huge mistake. They made this too good. And this is like the ultimate one. This particular Rangeman is bigger, right? And it has more features because it has an ABC sensors, right? So it has your compass, barometer, thermometer. It has extra stuff. But the square, smaller, cheaper, and has exactly what you want out of a wristwatch. Nothing you don't. There's no sensors. The time, I'll give you a rundown. We'll go through what's on the GWM5610U. But I just wanted to show you why I don't wear it. And, you know, wanting to have, I just look at this watch. This is beautiful. This is like a premium LCD screen, right? So you have a really nice LCD screen. When I look at it, it's perfect. You have the solar panel around the perimeter. So I can see the solar panel through there, which is good. I love that solar, okay? And then it has a little bit of it's not a brick pattern on this one, but you have like a chain link fence pattern passed on the outside of this red perimeter. And that's really nice, okay? Now, right now I'm wearing the GWH5600, and it has a mirrored perimeter instead of a red one, which I think looks pretty cool. But the red is like brings me back, okay? The red and the blue letters in the shock resistant gold. This color combo, you know, has a nostalgic effect on me. I was born in the 80s, so I remember the 80s. But also it's beautiful. It's like well designed. Every little detail is well designed. And the whole way you interact with a watch is it's beautiful. It's elegant and it's simple. And it was designed back before computer programming. This was designed, the whole design of your interaction and interface with a watch was designed before programming. Like it was all designed with logic gates. So more time was spent by smarter people fine-tuning every detail because it had to be efficient given the fact that you're using actual silicone transistors originally for all the functions of the watch. Now, some of these new watches that have, you know, programming, they have, it's just like, it's slapdash. It's like, it's easier to program. And so less time is spent making it elegant and less time is spent fine tuning all the details because it's like, well, we just want to get it out the door and, you know, we'll fix it in an update, in an ensuing update. And so there are some design flaws, in my opinion, with a lot of these newfangled G-Shock watches that have all these like connected smart features that are obviously programmed. And I'll just give you one that I've made a whole rant video about this. But when you look at the compass, when you go to the compass, it has the tiniest little arrow pointing north. Like, that is so dadgum tiny. What designer would design a tiny arrow to point north, right? You'd want a big beefy arrow that you could see from a distance. But I think that, for whatever reason, it's probably just, slapdash computer programming, right? That's my opinion. I'm kind of getting sidetracked. I made a whole rant video about the arrow on the compass, but you don't really see that on the GWM5610 and the square watches. That very elegant design, really nice, features, and it's LCD, all right? And so let me just go give you a rundown of what I really appreciate about the interface of the watch, and that has to do with how you cycle through its features. The main time screen, it displays the time, all right? You press the mode button once, and now you're in a second time zone, which is called world time. And that is very obvious to see as WT. And then the second or the third feature would be the alarms, all right? So my son, he's 14, he has set the alarm at 7:01 when it's a snooze alarm, all right? That's very responsible of him. I think he slept through it today. Anyways, stopwatch, ST, it's all the stuff is displayed. Then the timer, and now listen. You have a higher pitch beep. You're back to the main time screen. All right. So I went through all of the menu items with a mode button. I didn't have to dive in and out of a menu with enter. It's just it's simple, right? And that's the way the square watch is. That's the way that your basic watches are, and that's the way I like them. Now, the GWH5600, here's the main time screen, all right, showing my heart rate on the main time. I like that, but it also is not showing the day of the week. Now, how do you change the modes? Well, you have to hit mode, where you cycle through the different modes, and then you have to hit enter to go into that mode. So now we're in the stopwatch. You might think, oh, this is cool, stopwatch, right? Well, let me get it going. You'll see that it's not showing fractions of a second, which, I thought this was an advanced watch. Now, the MIP screen, as nice as it looks, can't refresh itself fast enough to show you the fractions of a second, on the on an LCD. See all those numbers? I mean, you can't really make them out anyways, but when you stop the stopwatch, then now it's showing me the fractions of a second. But when you stop this newfangled, highly advanced DWH5600, well, that's a split. So to stop it, I guess you got to come over here. So I stopped at 40 seconds, no fractions of a second. Now, if you're a football coach and you're timing the 40-yard dash of your players, everybody's going to have one of two times, right? 4 seconds or 5 seconds. Well, 6 seconds, for high school with the linemen, right? So 4, 5, or 6 seconds. So if you get a sub 5 seconds in the 40-yard dash, which would be amazing, like you wouldn't know. I mean, you need fractions of a second, and maybe not 100ths of a second, but it should at least display something. And that whole concept is not like Citizen does that on, this is an MIP subdial, and it doesn't display fractions of a second, but when you stop, its chronograph feature will show you fraction of a second. I'm not going to go through that now because we're focused here on the square, the 5610U. Now the U is, when the U stands for update, okay? And a few years ago, I believe it was 2021, the 5610U came out, which was an upgrade U to the 5610. And they added, again, chef's kiss. Just these updates to this module that G-Shock nerds went crazy. They were so stoked. And I think that they were right to be stoked, because the slight improvement of the module with the 5610U over the 5610 was just exactly what a G-Shock nerd would love. Okay, I'm going to show them to you, and if you're a G-Shock nerd, you will be like, yes, yes, and you will like it. If you're not a G-Shock nerd, you might shrug your shoulders and be like, well, my Apple Watch does that. Well, we don't care. Like, don't come in the comments and tell me what your Apple Watch can do. I don't care. All right? Because let me just show you what the U is all about in 5610U. First of all, notice how I'm in the stopwatch, right? This is the stopwatch mode, but in the top right corner, 10:05. That's the time right now. So while you have the stopwatch rolling, you can have the actual time displayed simultaneously. All right? And then same thing on the timer, right? We have a countdown timer, but it also has the time, all right? And then on the main time screen, you know, we have this American method of showing the day of the month and the you know, the date, which is first is the month. The first number is a month. The second number is the day of the month. Now in Europe, you guys do that the other way around. The first number would be the day of the month, and then the second number would be the number of the month, right? And so you can change that, right? And then the world time. Those are the main things for the U, right? And there might be some other things, but I did not own a regular 5610. So off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what all the other improvements are. But the big one was showing the actual time in both the stopwatch and timer. That's huge. And it's such a simple thing. But like, the best design is all about elegance. It's all about how elegantly it's designed, not how complex it is, right? If something is simple but elegantly designed, that's a beautiful design. If something is very complex, it might be designed, like, it might be the best design of a complex design, but like people may not appreciate that because of its complexity. And in general, you know, complex designs like are not done elegantly. So obviously, if something is complex and elegant, you know, that would be amazing. But really, simplicity, like to be able to boil a system down to simplicity, is in of itself a beautiful thing and elegant. Okay, so the 5610U, maybe U stands for elegant. You know, instead of elegant, we'll change like the E to a U. All right, that's actually a really bad idea, and that's not an elegant solution. But it drives home the point that the 5610U is like is for G-Shock nerds, like the best. Now, obviously, with my activities, all of my you know, hiking and canoeing and, you know, outdoors activities, and then working outside, I appreciate the additional functions that the ABC sensor watches offer of G-Shock, such as the Rangeman and the Mudman as well. Now, as the Mudmaster, where is the Mudmaster? You know, so this one is $880 now. Well, I bought it for $800. The prices are going up. The Mudmaster, the Mudman, I bought it for, I don't know, $380. I think it's over $400 now. They are still selling the Rangeman on the G-Shock website, and they've jacked up the price. So the prices were going down on the Rangeman GW9400, but they're bringing them back up. And again, like I said, they made the GW9400 too good. They cannot discontinue it because guys love it. It just will not stop selling, and I guess they are not stopping to make it. Okay, but these have additional features. So obviously more complexity with the sensor and everything. But the 5610 is just a nice diminutive watch, and I believe that right now it's like around $100. Someone's going to chide me for not checking. I did check, but I already forgot. how much it costs. Okay, so I want to say it's like 110, 120, 140. I don't know. I don't remember the retail price. So your basic, like the cheapest G-Shock watches, you know, like the GD010 is 110. So this must be 140, 120 or 140. You know, the GAV01. These watches don't have solar charging or multiband 6. So your basic G-Shock watches are going to be close to $100. And then your Walmart tier G-Shocks might be closer to 80, right? And so the thing is that those have the bare minimum of G-Shock durability, which is 200 meters of water resistance. And I think they call it like the 1010, like you can drop it from 10 meters. Actually, can't remember, but there's certain levels of durability, shock resistance and durability that all G-Shocks have. And then you have elevated durability on like the Master of G series watches. These are extra durable, but they cost more, right? Like I said, you know, the Mudmaster cost $880, okay? So, you know, the GWM5610 and the squares do have that essential base level of G-Shock durability. They do not have like a really elevated level of durability, but they will withstand a lot. From being diminutive, they're less likely to take hits, okay? And so I'm not going to take to YouTube and say that this is not a durable watch, because it is. It's a G-Shock, okay? It doesn't have an elevated level of durability. It's not a Master of G, all right? But it's strong, it's tough. It's gonna stick close to your wrist, all right? And then it has features that G-Shock nerds love. G-Shock OGs love, all right? And it's three things. You get the positive screen, so you have the legibility. You have the multiband 6, and you have the tough solar. That's what makes this square, like one of the best. The best. This is like the ultimate G-Shock, because multiband 6. All right, so what that does is that it acquires a signal from WWVB in Fort Collins, Colorado, that is just broadcasting the time down to the second. And the watch will sync the internal clock of its module to WWVB. Now, that's in the United States. In Japan, they have 2 towers that perform the same function, as well as China, and then there's one in Europe, right? India does not have one. Brazil does not have one. In India, you guys have to get on top of this. India and Brazil, you guys, you know, you have all these brainiacs in your country, right? That's what we're told, that you guys have all these smarty pants. You guys got to set up your own atomic clock, all right? Multiband 6 is just a terrific feature. You don't need Bluetooth. There's no Bluetooth on the square. There's no Bluetooth on the GWM5610U. Okay, you got multiband 6. Now, there is Bluetooth on the DWH5600, but there is no, there's Bluetooth, there's no multiband 6, all right? And so you don't need a phone for this square. You take it out of the box and you set your time zone. The time's already synced. It was synced in Tokyo. While in transit from Japan or Thailand, wherever it was made, it was acquiring multiband 6. It was made in Thailand. So it was acquiring multiband 6 the whole way. These watches come set for Tokyo time zone. Just change it to whatever time zone you are in. Hold down adjust, and the watch is already set. It just needs to know your time zone. That's all. Now, obviously, it doesn't know your time zone. There's no GPS. It won't hook up to your Bluetooth. Now, if you do have a Bluetooth watch, it will, like, this is actually Bluetooth Casio, and you hook it up to the app. It will use the location feature of your phone to set everything up. Okay, the time and your time zone and your daylight savings time, all that. And this one's low. It has to be charged up. It's a solar watch. But do I have any other Bluetooth watches? Well, yeah, I mean, obviously these semi-smart ones do that. However, while I have your attention about this issue, I would say that I do not want my watch to actually change from my home time zone. And one of the downsides of that whole syncing with your app is that if you cross into another time zone, you may not even know it. Your watch will change the time on you for that time zone, whatever you're in, which I don't want because, you know, when I go into New Mexico, which is mountain time, I want my watch to stay on Texas time. That's just a side note, not a problem with a watch that has no smart connection. All right, so the solar charging is the next big feature that G-Shock OGs love because I don't have to worry about changing the battery. Well, actually, it's my son's watch. He doesn't need to worry about changing the battery. The Tough Solar will keep that battery topped off. Now, obviously, you got to get sun. This GAB 2100 has not been getting sun, and that's why it's blinking low. Okay, the original Mudman I purchased is the same thing, blinking. It needs that sun, all right? Now, my son is in the sun all the time. He wears this in the sun all the time, and there's a battery level indicator at the bottom. You will see that it is on high. It's I don't think it's ever dipped below high because Philip wears this, you know, to like his football practices and stuff. I don't think he wears it while they have the pads on and everything, but all the conditioning, all the weightlifting, that's what he does with this watch. So it gets a lot of sun, and the solar charging is a terrific feature, and everybody wants this MIP screen on this watch with solar charging. That's what we've been asking for since the MIP screen came out on G-Shock watches, and rumor has it we'll be getting that soon. Will it be executed well? We shall see. Stay tuned. I'll have more information about that because like with all these newfangled MIP watches, like they stray away from the basic way that you interact with a watch. They add all this complexity of diving in and out of menus to get the different features, whereas on the original Square, you cycle through the modes. You just cycle through the modes, that's it. And there's no fitness features, there's just the time, second time zone, stopwatch, timer, alarms, back to time. So if G-Shock could make a Tough Solar watch that we interacted with so as simply as I just said, with Multiband 6, MIP screen, that would be a huge release. That would be the ultimate watch. Will they do that? I told them, take the Square, just change the screen. Do not add anything else. Do not change the Square. Just the screen. Just change the LCD to an MIP. Because as beautiful as this LCD is, there's some problems with the LCD. Now, first of all, it's polarized light, so you're going to have problems with glare. And then the big thing is a viewing angle. You know, you can kind of lose the time. It's just the nature of the LCD panels that you kind of lose it at certain angles. And then the MIP screen, that's not a problem, right? Look at how acute of an angle I can get this MIP screen down to and still read it. Okay, so you know this watch, which fits all right, by the way. The band is definitely long enough, very long, right? But it still has this angle on the GWM5610, so a little bit awkward in that regard. But anyways, they added a heart rate monitor, and then they added all of these, you know, cumbersome methods of interacting with a watch. Will have you thinking really hard about what button to press. But on the original Square, you don't have to think. You know. If you grew up in the 80s, you know how to deal with a watch. And if you were born after the 80s, like if you were born in the modern era of smartwatches, you know, if you have a modicum of intelligence, you can figure out how you cycle through the modes just by pressing the mode button. All right? That's a good thing. And so we'll see if this new Square will fulfill our demand from G-Shock of a Square with an MIP screen. So stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to show you guys that, this square, like the actual module, just like I said earlier, I just look at it, I'm like, this is beautiful. This is elegant. This is simple. This is what I want in a watch. But for me personally, the size doesn't work. Okay. Like the dimensions, and it does, you can grab the last notch, but this, like, I'm holding them side by side, you would be like, oh, the GM5610 is longer, right? And no, in practicality, the DWH5600 has a better band. This plastic or the resin, whatever it is stretchier, which is good when you want to cinch it really tight to get that heart rate monitor to work. And it's softer. It's more comfortable. This is like a harder resin, and it's been really damaged. Here you can see by my son's activities. Someone told me that the ultimate test of a watch is to put it on the wrist of a 14-year-old. All right. Well, my son's 14, and the GWM5610U by G-Shock has held up to the rigors of the lifestyle of my 14-year-old. Okay? And so that in and of itself is a huge endorsement of the G-Shock Square. And so if you were interested in buying one for yourself, I will leave a link in the description of this video. Click it, you go to G-Shock, and then hit buy, and you get G-Shock points, and you get enough G-Shock points, you get some cool merch, such as this Toyo toolbox. It says G-Shock. Really cool toolbox. It's a great mystery to me, but even though this is a G-Shock toolbox, some of my solar watches die in there, and it's earned the nickname the Coffin. And so we will investigate this mystery in an upcoming video as to why that happens. But the Square 5610U can go into power saving mode. And if the solar panel has not been sopped up any of the sun for a certain amount of time, the screen will go blank in order to save batteries. All right. Now you can deliberately put it into power saving mode, which will extend the life of the battery, or it will go on automatically, I believe, if the power ever gets low enough. Now, a lot of these watches, other watches of the G-Shock, they are currently in power saving mode. Like this GAB is in deep power saving mode. There's two levels of power saving mode. One is that the watch will blank out its LCDs, but in the background, it will still be keeping time. And once it senses light, it will spring back, okay? So when I fling open the lid of the Coffin, the G-Shock toolbox, I'm greeted by a lot of these watches with low batteries in power saving mode, like moving their hands back to the actual time from pointing at 12 o'clock. So the analog watches don't waste any energy keeping the time. The LCD goes blank and the hands go to the 12 o'clock position, all right? So one day I'll show you, one day I'll fling open the lid on a video and you can see them all come back to life. So it's this watch, once it's charged up with the solar charging, the battery will last a long time in absentia of sunlight, or any light really. And I think it's like 10 months is what the manual said. So I mean, like, that's obviously a conservative estimate. So it can last a long time in the Coffin once it's topped off. With that power saving mode, especially that it can last a long time without sun. Now, obviously, it's not good for the battery to let it die down. Okay, and so you probably shouldn't store all your solar charged watches in a toolbox or in a drawer. Some people suggest subjecting them to sunlight, keeping them in the sun. Not possible for me due to my lifestyle. So I will deal with the consequences. I recommend this watch for someone who, is like a little on the nerdy side. And I mean that like in a respectful way. like, are you good at maths? Are you organized? Do you like numbers? Do you have like a natural proclivity towards engineering and building and design? Do you like tinkering? Do you like pulling stuff apart, seeing how it works? I believe this is the G-Shock for you, the square, specifically the GWM5610U. The only people that I would not recommend this for is someone who has a very large wrist and very big proportions. For reasons I explained earlier, it's just, yes, you can get it to fit, but a lot of times it just splays out too far. The watch crotch is just too narrow, which is a shame because like I really love the features of this 5610U, as I've shown you. You know, the time, it has that time, and you know, it's just like, see how it says received? That means it's acquired the multiband 6 time signal, and you get the solar charging, and it's like the only thing that could be nerdier really would be a calculator watch, which I've owned a bunch. I've owned a bunch of calculator watches, but the bands always break on me. The pins pop out, and I lose the watch. I've lost so many calculator watches that I've spent more money in calculator watches than I have just on a G-Shock. Maybe I should get a G-Shock. This is the one I got, and obviously the pins are more durable. I wouldn't worry about this one popping off. However, like it's just not good enough for a big wrister. Okay. Now I will say, someone might bring up that you can put a strap adapter on it, and that's true. Previously, I thought strap adapters were junk. I thought they were stupid, and a lot of guys are like, "Oh, you have a big wrist, you got to get a NATO strap." Now, those guys who have enormous wrists, and mine are like 8.5, 9 inches around, but those who have like King Kong size wrists, like Bigfoot, you know, Bigfoot appears a lot on my channel now. He's a buddy of mine, and you know, like you're gonna see Bigfoot way more on some of my videos. He's chiming in a lot, but anyways, you know, like Bigfoot would need, they oftentimes will need strap adapters. Well, G-Shock started making their own watches with strap adapters, seeing that aftermarket strap adapters were selling. That's where a lot of innovation comes with G-Shock, is they just copy what aftermarket modifiers are doing. All right. Now, I ended up loving this Cordura band on this Casio with the strap adapter. And I was like, oh, I don't know how strong the strap adapter is. Well, I bashed this particular watch with a Watch Bopper 5000, and I did do damage to the strap adapter. You can see the pins are kind of like all bent, but the strap adapter, it turns out there's metal underneath. So the strap adapter itself was tougher than I thought. So I like strap adapters now. So could you take the strap adapter with this strapped and put it on the GM5610U? And I believe you could. I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'm about 95% sure, but I've not actually done it, so do not hold me to this. But in an upcoming video, I will do that, okay? Because my son Phil is obviously not now wearing this GMW5610U. But I was like, hey, Phil, can I borrow your watch? I got to make a video. And I took the GBD 500 out of the box. Now, the GBD 500 has an inverted screen. It's narrower, right? It has a shape like this Casio. You know, kind of like a Tank's watch there. You know that watch that Tank made? What is it called? Like the Cartier Santos XL or something like that? But anyways, it's like this narrower body, right? And so this is actually good, you know, in terms of staying out of your way when you move your wrist, right? So the GBD 500 has that shape, but the GBD 500, the band is just way too small. I couldn't even get like, if I like cinched it tight, like I, you know how you suck in your waist? I sucked in my wrist and got the GBD 500 as tight as I could, and my hand started turning blue. I just wore it to do a wrist roll video on a YouTube short, and I've never been able to put it on again. But which is a shame because I, like I said earlier, I like diminutive watches. Anyways, I'm letting my son borrow that one. We'll see what he says. That particular watch does not have multiband 6 or solar charging. But the thing is, like, Phil got this at, you know, as his first real watch. Obviously, he had the Skemmy. But when you're put into like, when you're given like the best watch early on in life, you don't really appreciate how good it is. All right. So I'm letting him borrow the GBD 500. We'll see what he says. So far, he likes it because he says it's not as big as this one. And so we'll get the final verdict. But it's funny that me and my boys, wearing G-Shocks, that we have the hourly time signal on. So at the top of every hour, all of our watches beep, except for Brian's. Right, Brian James, he has a I think it's like the GWM5610 or something. It's one of the other ones, but anyways, that does not have multiband 6, and he purposefully set it to be like 1 or 5 seconds slower, so that all of our watches will beep on the top of the hour, and then his will beep. And he does that, to trigger me, let's just say. I also have this Kaiweets electromagnetic detector. I'm going to put it near my microphone. Here I go crazy. So it's just part of the review process on the Jim Kincaid YouTube channel. We're going to hold the EMF meter by the device. All right. That's weird. It may have been picking up one of these other Bluetooth. I'll put it down here. All right. It's safe. There's no unsafe level. Let me stand away to make sure it's not picking up EMF from anything else. All right, so there it is. There's your background EMF. It says safe. I observe no change after putting the square near the EMF meter. So, if you are counting your cumulative EMF exposure, do not worry about wearing this G-Shock square. Right? It's an insignificant amount of EMF, and the multiband 6, the radio only receives the multiband signal. It's not broadcasting a signal. Now you may be wondering, scoffing at all this. It's important, all right? Do not scoff at what I am saying about EMF, all right? Now, a lot of Redditors are like, oh, but it's non-ionizing. I understand what ionizing radiation is. I'm not saying that this is like nuclear fusion is going on. I understand that, okay? Sometimes some people, on the internet, they're called midwits, kind of like, they have average intelligence, but as a youngster, they were told they were intelligent. They really key in on certain factoids, all right? I'm just telling you how it is. I know this is going to be insulting to some people, but like the whole thing about radiation, yes, I understand that this is not nuclear radiation with the EMF. I understand that. I took high school physics, okay? But to pretend that that you are 100% certain there are no ill effects from EMF radiation from all of these devices we have, the phones, the Bluetooth, and everything, is really naive of you. All right, just because it's not ionic. What did I just say? Polarizing? I forget the word. And these aren't like gamma rays, all right? It's just regular old electromagnetic radiation. But there's a cumulative effect, and it's ridiculous to say there isn't, all right? And so you want to minimize your exposure, all right? I'm telling you guys this, even though science hasn't told you that, it will. Everybody knows it, right? And so, if you have like your phone on you, your smartwatch on you, your earbuds on you, that you are exposed to a lot of EMF. What is a safe level? Well, we're going to find that out, all right? Some of us are going to find out the hard way, okay? I'm a licensed ham radio operator, KF5NDX, right? And so, the FCC is warning ham radio operators to pay attention to the amount of electromagnetic radiation you're exposed to in the pursuit of your hobby, because like when you key up a radio, like a handheld, you're broadcasting a signal. So you have right in your hand a strong source of electromagnetic radiation. You know, if you have a tower at home and you have, you know, your equipment inside, same thing. You're exposed to a lot of EMF. And so if you are interested in minimizing that, you want to pay attention to how much you're exposed to. Now with a watch like this, one that you take out of the box, slap on your wrist, and then go with it, there's a huge advantage that you're not being tracked, you're not exposed to EMF, and you know, it's very simple. You're not signing a license agreement by clicking agree. You're not giving anybody your email. You just have a device that tells the time, you put it on your wrist, bing, bang, boom, you're good to go. And so that's what I like about these square watches. And unfortunately, the actual squares don't fit, and except this one does go on, but it does have that problem with the walking because of the band splay, but it has broken in pretty well. And so I'm hoping that the new iteration with the MIP screen of the square does have a suppler band, like this one, a longer band, like the GWH5610, and it has the basic functionality of the original square. And the best example, in my opinion, of the original square is the GWM5610U. All right, and I think that the GWM5610U has supplanted the GWM5610. I believe you do not have to pay attention to which one is a U and which one is not, because I think that the regular 5610 is gone and the U has supplanted it, from what I understand. All right. And so obviously there are other G-Shock squares that, because of the fit, I have not worn. Okay. They even made a reissue of the original square. And so G-Shock OGs love the square. And for those of you who are not G-Shock OGs, you may look at all these squares and you may think, these are all the same. What's the big deal? Well, you don't understand. There's so many like distinctive and subtle differences. Like some have a metal case, some have like a screw in case back rather than a screw down. Some have slightly different features. There's a lot to them. Like the face may be different. Some have a negative LCD. And so there's a whole array of squares. I think that the 5610U, with this updated module and this chef's kiss style elegance in its design, is the best option, because it's also a pretty good price. When you pay for the metal case and you pay for the screw down case back and the DLC coating, you're going to be paying more. Now, if you are huge into the squares, then those extra features are worth it for you. But if you're looking for the best bang for the buck, the GWM5610 is the way to go, in my opinion. And so I'd recommend that to anybody who can pull it off, that this is a watch that you want to have in your collection. And once you get it, you may have a bunch of watches in your collection, but you will probably end up wearing it the most because of its functionality, that it's more diminutive than other G-Shocks, and you never have to worry about it breaking because it's so durable. Gentlemen, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him. Don't forget to check out my website, jimkincaid.com. I'm Jim Kincaid. Thanks for watching.